Well, if things couldn't have got worse, we we jump on here and my camera, much like the Chargers offense, did not show up today, so it stopped. So then we started the show and we weren't live. So Craig did a whole soliloquy to me while I'm trying to fix my camera, which is now just a still shot. We'll just go audio today.
Tell the truth. You punched yourself in the face during the game, and you don't want to show everybody your black eyes and busted lips.
Now,
Come
first of all, you saw me and my camera before we went live. Second of all, I punched my camera. I would never hurt this moneymaker. My face is too important to be punching. I punched the camera, and now it's broken. So we are now live, Craig. Chargers lose in embarrassing fashion. I wanted to say couldn't be any more embarrassing fashion, but I'm sure it could. It's the Chargers. They could find a way, but they lost 16-3. Season is over. They just laid an egg in Foxborough. And Craig, I know you have a lot to say. You already said a lot of it, but they didn't hear it. So where would you like to start?
I honestly don't even know, man. So clearly, season ends with a thud, and now we have to go into another offseason listening to all the criticisms that are apparently warranted. We can start at the top with the face of the franchise, Justin Herbert. Can't make any excuses for you, dude. Just I can't. Was this a great game by anyone offensively? No. But Herbert had his chances and he wasn't able to deliver. A few overthrows, a couple of situations where he probably could have tucked the ball and taken off, instead threw and didn't make the completions where he needed to. Could have utilized his legs to extend some drives. I mean, he did for the most part, but there were some opportunities out there also that he left on the field that probably could have kept some drives going. But to be completely honest with you, I don't really know if it matters, because you had Herbert and then literally nothing else. The entire broadcast, I'm listening to these idiots talk about what Herbert needs to do. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, can Herbert also engineer open wide receivers? Because I'm not sure if that's a part of what his job description entails. I mean, aside from the fact that, yeah, he needs to make the throws to the guys when they're available, but those opportunities were few and far in between. You had no run support. When Justin Herbert is your primary, again, rushing threat, at 57 yards, Kamani Vidal had 31 on 11 carries. If that was your game plan going in, you were dead wrong from the beginning, because I thought the plan was to protect him, which the offensive line did for a decent portion of the game. I, in my wildest dreams, did not believe that walking into this game, the O-line would not be the biggest issue tonight. And instead, you've got guys in the secondary blanketing all the wide receivers. All of these weapons that the Chargers felt like they had to go and get Justin Herbert did absolutely nothing. And so you have almost a game that didn't mirror what happened last year against the Texans, but you end up with the same result. Where last year you had one guy who was actually able to get open and was available to Herbert. Tonight you had literally none, but you have more options. So make that make sense. And as I've gone on here, I've said it when I was giving my soliloquy before that nobody could hear. I'm saying all this, and I haven't mentioned the name Greg Roman one time, because you've got all these issues, more weapons, and yet you get the same result. So I ask, what's the common denominator here? I want to give you an opportunity to say what you got to say, Garrett, because we could touch on a bunch of things. Like, the defense did all that they could. It wasn't a perfect performance, but they played very well for the majority of this game. They gave the Chargers, the offense, opportunities to put points on the board. And with 2 red zone visits, the Chargers walked away with 3 points against a team that's near the bottom of the league in red zone stops, giving teams over 70% touchdowns when visiting the red zone. So, long story less long, we go into another offseason where we can't defend number 10, and we just got to basically take it on the chin and I guess look forward to next season, in a season where we might lose our defensive coordinator, but still have to keep Greg Roman. I don't even know what there is to look forward to, honestly.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment, but a lot of people were talking about wanting to have a therapy session today, and I don't know that that's going to be the case, because there are no real answers. Greg Roman obviously was terrible today. He could not adjust at all. Once the Patriots sent pressure, there was no, quick passing game like we've talked about. We didn't see any screens today. There was like no real misdirection, nothing to throw any of that off. It was just basically like, hey, the Pats are going to throw 6 or 7 at you, and then Herbert figure it out, And to be honest with you, there's a lot of people to blame here. I agree with you. Defensively, there isn't really much that you can ask more of them. They get 2 turnovers. They only give up 16 points. The offense was stalling all over the place. Obviously, they only had 3 points. So they were playing with short fields multiple times. They were able to knock them out of field goal range a couple times. I mean, there was a lot of great things from the offense. I mean, Odafe Oweh getting 3 sacks today and then having a single game postseason franchise record is all but being buried in a game where he's probably going to end up getting re-signed, and he was a revelation to the season and he was amazing. But I don't have any words for how to defend Justin Herbert. I've been a big fan of his. I have talked about how I did not like him during the draft, but obviously he is this team's QB1 and he is Superman during the regular season, but when it counts, he just has not been able to get it done. He's 0-3 in the playoffs now. He's been on the end of 3 pretty ugly losses now. I know the Jacksonville you might not put at his feet because of the offense they put up that day and the defense not being able to stop anything that day. But today, I understand that wide receiver group just could not get open. Ladd couldn't get anything going. Keenan Allen looked 53 today. I don't know what happened to the new calendar year, but he aged and signed up for AARP the first of the year. He looked terrible. Multiple drops, a couple of which were on 3rd down, and it's always been this 3rd and Keenan stuff. So I don't know what you do about that, but Herbert just could not get anything going, and it felt like once they got stopped after the first interception or the only interception, and they were in the red zone and they got stopped on 4th down, where Herbert was like basically trying to run it the entire time. It just felt like they had no other plan. Their guys weren't getting open. I understand that. The running game wasn't quite working, but Herbert just did not have a plan. It was kind of like panic mode back there the entire time. And Roman did not put him in good spots. It was not all of Herbert's fault, but also it is Herbert's fault. It is on him. He had 159 yards today and only had 3 points. That's on Herbert. They had plenty of opportunities. They gave the Chargers short fields. The defense gave him turnovers. He had opportunities to go score, and he just could not put it together. So I get there were some drops. I get there were some, the wide receivers are having trouble getting open. But for the most part, this offensive line played pretty well, especially through the first 3.5-ish quarters. It felt like towards the beginning of the 4th quarter, Vrabel just decided like, hey, let's just get to them because they're not going to do anything about it. Greg Roman's not going to make any adjustments. So let's just send the house each time. And it just got uglier and uglier as that game was rolling on in that 4th quarter. But there just wasn't enough from 10 today. And I know he tried to run a lot and he was the leading rusher and he made a couple of great plays, but he also sat back and decided to throw on times where he could run, and he sat back there a little bit too long. He tried to do a little bit too much with a football. That incomplete pass when you're backed up against the goal line to Vidal was terrible. That was a very bad decision from a quarterback. He got away with it, but he held the ball too long and he got bailed out by Kamani Vidal recovery and the first down. They're just, I wanted Herbert to get a win so bad today. And I was so ready to defend Herbert, even if they did lose today. But the way in which that game unfolded and how Herbert could not put a drive together, I just cannot defend him. He's been terrible in the playoffs. I have nothing I can say because I so really wanted him to do good today, even if they lost. But the way in which this game ended up finishing, there's nothing I have nothing positive to say. I mean, he's a warrior. He's getting, he was getting his ass kicked out there, and I feel terrible for him. But I don't have any words. Everything, it just feels like not just being a prisoner of the moment. It's just like, well, now we've got a pretty big sample size. This is the 3 individual playoff games where his team is folded when he's been quarterback, and it falls on him. And if we're going to praise him when they're 11-6 and winning games they shouldn't, we have to, give him what he's due here when you're playing a Pats team, a rookie quarterback, and who hadn't put up a touchdown until that fourth quarter. I mean, they had so many opportunities to go and even that game up, and they couldn't. And as much as I love Herbert in the regular season, he's a superstar, but it seems like right now there is nothing but what everybody's saying right now. Until he can prove everybody wrong, he folds when the lights are bright, and he did it again today.
So I'm gonna shoot 10 just a little bit of bail. And I'm only saying this because you talking about not being prisoner of the moment. I completely understand. I'm there with you. The issue is you can't put games like this squarely at his feet because you have to take everything into account with regard to the fact that, yes, he's the playmaker. He's the quarterback. The ball's in his hands. He's the one that has to distribute. I can't count how many times I physically watched more 5 to 7 step drops where he's scanning the field for open receivers and he's got 3 to 4 out and routes and not a single one of them can create any separation whatsoever. Then he presses. He starts to try to maneuver around the pocket to create more time to allow them to get open. Nothing happens. He breaks down. He tries to take off, and it worked out sometimes. Sometimes it didn't. The problem here is that where I'm going to point blame at him is that at some point, you being the guy, there has to be some level of autonomy that you have at the line of scrimmage to make some adjustments. I'm tired of hearing kill calls that go straight into runs. I'm tired of it. Everybody knows what's happening. You kill it, you're going to hand the ball off. What my issue is that at this point, you in year 6 should be able to, at the line of scrimmage, see what the defense is doing as far as like pre-snap reads, make a decision about any adjustments that you feel like need to be made. If you need to help them make the protection adjustments, do that. I mean, to the best of your ability, because the guys up front still have to block it. But just because Greg Roman calls a play doesn't necessarily mean you have to run it. My issue is you got that freaking wristband with like 50 plays on it that you only call like 3 off of. What is the point of that thing? If you're at the line, there should be at least 1 to 2 check plays out of whatever formation you're in that you can audible to. And very rarely does that happen. I feel like they line up, he lines up, and whatever the play call is what they're running unless he kills it to a run. So there's no autonomy, like I said, for him at the line of scrimmage to do what he needs to do as the leader, as the quarterback. I get this is the second year in this offense, but he should be well versed enough in it to where he can do it. I mean, hell, by the way, there's only like 15 plays total in the offense anyway. So why does it matter? You should have all of them memorized. So that's why I'm going to give him a little bit of bail in the beginning, but on the back half of that, that is his responsibility. We have to address the fact that this whole bromance between Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman has to end. Because if you're telling me that after that performance, forget it. We all know that the Chargers had to deal with attrition, like historical ways that they've had to go through offensive linemen. You're missing 2 of your top 5 players, which are 2 of your tackles. You go into this game down your number 1 running back. Well, actually, you would have been your 1B running back, but the guy that was there before doesn't really matter. Your number 1 running back is out. He tried to give it a go, got 2 carries, couldn't do anything. I don't think we expected much from him anyway. So you got no running game going into it. You knew going into this week that without Amari Hampton being able to provide you anything, this game was probably going to have to be on 10's shoulders. 10 had to know that, and Greg Roman had to know that. And with that said, the game plan should have been commensurate to that. Putting in the ball in 10's hands, but giving him opportunities to distribute it to his receivers in short areas, quick game, which we've been asking for weeks. At this point, season's over. Doesn't even matter. So no use, beating that drum anymore. It's over and done with. In a game where you knew it was going to have to be on Herbert, you needed to give him options to be able to succeed. So his offensive coordinator didn't put him in positions to succeed, and he himself did himself no favors with some of the game management and terrible throws he was making. Justin Herbert used to throw a fantastic deep ball. For some reason, all of his touch is gone. And he was really good at throwing on the run. But for some reason tonight, he just didn't have it. He's overthrowing balls, putting a little bit too much pepper on it. It feels like he was pressing when he saw a receiver open and then just putting too much mustard on the ball where he could have just put a little bit of touch on it, or even in situations where like Quentin Johnston beats Christian Gonzalez deep. And all he has to do is get the ball over QJ's shoulder and allow him to go get it. Instead, he overthrows it and it hits Gonzalez in the back. That play, I'm not saying would have resulted in a touchdown, but it would have been a huge chunk play and it would have created some momentum. But in general, this does fall at Herbert's feet, but let's not forget the person who he's supposed to be working in tandem with, who literally just sits up in the booth and gets to hide. You know, I don't think I saw them show Greg Roman one time tonight. As far as like, you know, they'll always jump into the booth and show like the coordinators that are up there and like whatever they're doing. I don't think I saw Greg Roman one time. But to be completely honest, I don't care if I never see him ever again. Collectively on the offense, this is a overall failure. Jim Harbaugh needs to be held accountable for it too, because again, I get that Greg's your guy, but what you learned this year was if things go awry, he has no changeup. He has one pitch. And if things aren't set up perfectly for him, you're going to have to figure it out. The guys are going to have to all perform to superhuman levels in order to get the job done, because the guy who gets paid millions of dollars to get them in position to succeed can't get it done unless everything is set up perfectly for him. That's not an offensive coordinator. That, not in my eyes. So, I mean, I know I've been ranting on about it. I could continue, but again, just to be fair, I know that other people talk about, but yeah, Herbert going into this offseason, I can't really defend you overall. What I will say is, and I know I'll probably get, you know, a whole bunch of pushback for this, Peyton Manning didn't win his first 3 playoff games either. Not calling Justin Herbert Peyton Manning, but I just want to throw that out there. So it's not all doom and gloom, but
neither did Matt Ryan, neither did Matthew Stafford.
So all hope is not lost. We're just in a season where we expected him to take the next step. But if we're being completely honest, do we think this team was going to make a real run in the playoffs with all of the attrition? Probably not. But at least we thought we were going to get beyond the wild card round of the playoffs. And this is another year where we asked for what we wanted. We got it, just not the way we expected it.
I mean, we expected at least a game here today. I mean, this was nothing. But yeah, I think, I mean, like I said, Roman didn't make it easy on Herbert. His wide receivers didn't make it easy on him, and the O-line kind of fell apart towards the end. And I get it. There's a lot of people to blame here, but I think when you are QB and you're QB1 and the leader of this team, at some point you have to let go of whatever the hell Roman's doing and take it upon yourself in a playoff game to make it work. And he just couldn't do it. Roman has got to be fired. There is just no way around that. I know a lot of people are saying, you know, Jesse Minter's gone because the defense was so great, and maybe that's the case. But I don't care. There's no, well, I mean, obviously I want Jesse Minter to stay. I don't mean it that way, but I mean like the argument that Harbaugh will not go into next offseason with 2 coordinators, your alternative is getting worse. Is that your alternative? Your alternative is getting some other kind of D coordinator, you know, that probably won't live up to Jesse Minter year 1, and then go back to Greg Roman again. I mean, that's just not a viable option. When you have an embarrassing performance like this in the playoffs, somebody has to pay for that, and Greg Roman cannot be part of this franchise any longer. We've given him a pass, thought maybe he would adjust from his old ways in Baltimore. He cannot. He is of an old generation that just does not know how to call a football game anymore, and he just will not adjust. And that was his problem in Baltimore. It was a problem today. It's been a problem throughout his tenure here as an offensive coordinator. So Greg Roman cannot be offensive coordinator anymore. And as much as you'd love to have like a McDaniel or somebody come over, I don't know how viable that is. All I know is that Greg Roman cannot be offensive coordinator. That cannot happen. You're not trading Justin Herbert. He is still a top 10 quarterback in this league, if not top 5. Yes, he's had really, really bad playoff performances, but there's no other way to go. If you're looking at some kind of sunny outlook right now, it's that there will be no more Greg Roman as offensive coordinator, and this offensive line is going to get a complete overhaul. Outside of the tackles, who should be back, hopefully, everybody else is going to be replaced. Maybe they re-sign Zion Johnson. I don't know. But the fact that we had to watch the end of the season end on a Bradley Bozeman whiff, on a sack on Justin Herbert, is so beyond. I don't want to say, I was trying to say, like on Twitter, I was like, it's like poetic, but like the opposite.
No, no, dude. Fate has never laughed harder. Like you knew that had to happen exactly the way that it did because they've been asking for it all season long. It had to end that way. That had to be the last offensive play.
Yeah. Yes, Bradley Bozeman had to let us down one more time. He had to play the Matador one last time so we could all see it and make sure. I mean, that we as a collective fan group of this team bully him out of never playing football again for this franchise, like we should probably do for Greg Roman. I'm not saying incite violence, but I am saying like there's no way we quietly sit around and just let the Chargers rehire or keep Greg Roman and somehow re-sign Bozeman. That just can't happen. So if you're looking for some kind of sunny output, they have a ton of money to throw around this offseason. And they have a very easy way to get better, and that is improve the offensive line. And they got very unlucky with the way the tackles got injured this season. And the fact that they were able to pull off the season they did with the lack of talent on the offensive line that they had is pretty admirable. But the fact that they went out so quietly like this with no fight at all out on the offensive side of the ball, because I don't want to take away from the defensive performance today because they actually played really well. It's just it's sad, but it's I can't believe that Herbert was able to drag that offensive line of Costco employees around this long as he did. So they've got a ton of money and they can improve, and hopefully I know we're all hoping Tyler Linderbaum makes it through free agency. We will see with a new head coach if they keep him or not in Baltimore, but they got to do something.
And listen, if the Chargers let Jesse Minter go, well, not let him go, but if he's offered a job that he wants to take and they retain Greg Roman, I will lead the charge at the bolt with a flamethrower, because there's absolutely no way you can make an excuse for what's going on here offensively. Look, let's just, without having to go into great detail about everything, because there's so many issues, let's just talk about offensively. Even if they replace the offensive line, that probably helps you in your run game, and it aids Herbert in protection, right? Gives him an extra tick to get the ball off. But if the spacing in the passing game is still this trash, it won't matter. He'll probably still end up taking a bunch of coverage sacks, because for the life of me, the next time Greg Roman understands what route combinations are, backside routes, complementary routes, the first time I see that, the next time I see it, well, you know what? Hopefully I don't have to see it ever again. If it happens, it'll be the first time it ever happens for him. So again, the common denominator is a play caller who has no bag whatsoever. He doesn't have one to go into. The offense is supposed to be predicated on the run. Well, if you're having issues on your offensive line, then you have to be able to game plan around that to the best of your ability. And he's not proven at all that he can do that on a consistent basis. I saw it 1 week with the Steelers. We all did. We keep referring to it, but that was my hope. I'm like, oh, I saw him do it, so he'll be able to do it again, right? There's no way he's going to walk into a playoff game and just do all the same crap he normally does. Well, he doesn't understand passing game. He doesn't understand concepts and complementary routes. So Yes, it'd be great if the Chargers, and I do think that they will make improvements on the offensive line. How could you not? I don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to stand for what happened this season again next year. But if you still retain Greg Roman as your offensive coordinator, great. Your running game will probably be better. Your passing game will be a little bit better, but you still probably won't have a significant vertical passing game. You won't be able to create any quick looks for your wide receivers who are really good at run after the catch to get their hands on the ball and get busy without having to wait for them to run, whether it be like 5, 6, 7 routes, those middle of the tree routes that are a little bit longer to develop and take multiple cuts. He's probably still going to try to implement those things, but they're all going to be within the same area of the field. So again, this is not going to turn into a crap on Greg Roman fest. We've done that almost weekly, but the fact of the matter is that they have to be real wholesale changes on the offensive side, starting with him. Yes, definitely get your offensive line together, but there's one person, again, that is the common denominator here 2 years straight that you can point the finger at that's making the same mistakes 2 years in a row, regardless as to what the situation is with the players on the field. It's the same issues.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty apparent, and we obviously talked about how Herbert was not good enough today, and we don't need to keep bagging on that because he wasn't, and there's nothing else to really say on that. But the as we're talking about common denominator, it is Greg Roman, and there is just no I don't care about loyalty, his whatever, his travel mate with that RV or whatever. I don't care what they do on their offseason, man. Enjoy it together away from this team. Greg Roman cannot be a part of it anymore. There isn't any option or any if you really value getting better next year and not trying to make it another embarrassing loss in in the playoffs again, you cannot have Greg Roman as your offensive coordinator. You cannot have Bradley Bozeman at center. And like Chat was just saying, J.K. Scott can no longer be the punter. He can go as well.
Good old JK, huh? Another week, and proving my point again. He's good until you need him to be.
Yeah. Whenever you need a good kick from him, he will not deliver. That is his calling card. And we were worried about Dicker and kind of having the yips the last time he was on the field, but he was okay today in his one kick, since we were talking about special teams.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this wide receiver room, because there's probably going to be a shift here. We had hoped that the Trey Harris movement was going to get a little bit more steam towards the end of this year, and it started to gain a little bit of momentum, and then it kind of slowed down, and then we didn't really see a lot of it. And then we're seeing Keenan Allen get 8 targets, only caught 2 or 3 passes today. Trey Harris caught 2, but it just felt like what was really hard to understand was that the Patriots were sending a ton of pressure, and you have 2 wide receivers in Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey who do their best work in the first 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and they could not get any quick passing game going with those dudes who beat almost anybody off the line of scrimmage. I don't know what was going on today, and that's obviously a Greg Roman thing. But it looks like, going into next year, is Keenan Allen still there? Is Ladd McConkey, do you hope that he makes a bounce back year next year? I mean, not like you're thinking about getting rid of him, but like, do you go into the draft thinking, hey, we need another wide receiver 1 because Ladd isn't quite that right now, and Trey Harris is kind of like the jury's out right now because he hasn't got like the volume touches. Is Gadsden the guy you saw for that 4 to 5 game stretch, or is he the guy that can't get a first down today in the open field one-on-one? I don't know what. And then where does QJ fit in? Is Keenan there? I mean, what do you feel like the outlook's going to be for these wide receivers?
So first and foremost, let's not even mention quick game and Greg Roman in the same sentence. Those two don't belong together. He doesn't believe in it or is allergic to it. One of the two. As far as your wide receivers are concerned, I've been banging the table for more Trey Harris for weeks. And Roman does this thing where he features him on 1 or 2 plays in the game and then nothing for the rest of the game. It can be at the very beginning where it looks like they have an emphasis on getting him the ball, or it'll be, I don't know, on 1 or 2 big third down plays throughout the game. But other than that, they'll just send him out there to block, which he does a tremendous job of. But that should be your primary XY receiver. And it felt like they were trying to work him into a role initially, but then as the season went on and you saw him making plays, they just never. I don't know what I don't think there was a plan for him, really and truly. It seemed like there was, but then it's just like we don't know what to do with the guy. We went from not having enough receivers to having too many. Like only Greg Roman could make that a problem. But really and truly, Trey Harris needs to be a focal point of this offense moving forward in the passing game because he gives you a little bit of everything at all levels of the field, which is why I still, for the life of me, can't understand that for an offense that can't be vertical. And I'm not trying to go off on a tangent. I'm just trying to talk myself through this to understand why is the guy that was one of the top wide receivers in beating man-to-man coverage in college, who was a downfield receiving threat, who was a contested catch master, not getting those opportunities consistently? Or why are you not even trying to give him shots at that when your offense is struggling? Because if you give him a couple of those balls, he'll come down with like maybe 1 or 2, and you can create some momentum and get your offense flowing. But I don't know why. They just didn't believe in it. For the rest of the wide receiving core, like you mentioned, I don't know what happened with Keenan tonight. It's like, I think I said it, it's like the Monstars came down and stole his superpowers. Because if there's one thing that you can count on Keenan Allen to do is come through on third down, and that was not existent tonight. And just like you mentioned, something else I was thinking about in the passing game with both he and Ladd, who are middle of the field merchants, who are guys who definitely can beat coverage off the line of scrimmage, and if you're in a position where like they're pressed up, you can get them space by motioning them and giving them a free run and access into the middle of the field, or give them a 2-way go opportunity or 3-way go if you want to use them vertically. And that just wasn't happening. I think the wide receiver core is actually fine. I just don't believe that the person who is in charge of scheming them is any good at it. So they wasted a wide receiver core, because keep in mind, remember last year, the issue was that there weren't enough weapons. This year, there were a ton of them, and they still weren't utilized the way that they needed to be. I don't think that there has to be a number one guy. What I do believe is that there's no excuse for the fact that you have this many guys with varying skill sets. You got QJ, who can really do a great job with the ball when it's in his hands in short areas of the field. He showed a little bit this year as far as getting a little bit more vertical and when in contested catch situations. If you want to utilize him in that way, that's fine. But what you want to do is get the ball in his hands quickly and allow him to make it happen after the catch. Ladd wins off of the line quickly, so slants, quick outs, smoke screens, tunnel screens, things of that nature, to let him do that as well. Operating in the middle of the field, you can utilize him since he's got such great change of direction on whip routes, where you can basically stick, whether you want to put him in the middle of the field, where he would primarily play as a slot wide receiver, and get him either one-on-one with the slot or a linebacker, motion him towards the middle of the field, then across the formation. There's so many things that you can do with players like that they weren't taking advantage of, and winning at each level of the field, because you literally have one of each type of player in your wide receiver core to do it. That tells me, honestly, the wide receiving core in general is fine. I will say, though, Keenan may have stunted Ladd's development a little bit this year. I think that was a little bit of the question that was coming into the season, whether or not they kind of, I guess if you want to call it stealing touches, I mean, potentially, yes, I guess, because, Keenan, the whole third and Keenan thing came back into play. I totally understand that. But Ladd disappearing after having the year that he had last year is completely inexcusable. So, long story less long, when we're talking about the wide receiving core, I think if Keenan didn't come back, they'd be fine. Even if Keenan stuck around, I think they'd be okay if he even had a more limited role. You just got to have the play caller to be able to utilize all those weapons. And that's the overarching theme here. So I don't think there's a real issue with the wide receiver room. I mean, KLS, he dealt with his injuries. He's more of your vertical guy who can stretch the field. So again, you have different players that you can utilize their different skill sets to succeed. You just don't have the guy to make it happen for him on the field as far as the play call is concerned.
So to update, of course, Jim Harbaugh was peppered with question about Greg Roman today. And Harbaugh repeatedly said that he didn't have the answer to whether Greg Roman was the right person to be calling plays for the Chargers, but that they're going to be looking at that and everything now that the season is over. So they are directly going to be looking at if Greg Roman should be the OC in 2026. And, is that just coach speak? I don't know. But I don't know. I mean, these Harbaugh brothers just love this guy. I mean, I don't think this guy has a job if these Harbaugh boys don't just love on this guy. I don't know what the hell's going on. And there's a lot of offensive coordinator guys available if you're looking that route. But Keenan's going to be an interesting case. Obviously, QJ will be back. He's in his 4th year of his rookie deal. So you don't even have to talk about 5th-year option or anything like that. QJ will be back. Keenan's obviously going to be a free agent. He's 33. So, that's, I don't know, that we'll see about that. But when Tucker Fisks has more receptions than Keenan Allen on almost 3 times as many targets, that Keenan did not play his best game today. And I don't know if Tucker Fisk was part of the game plan, but to get him 3 touches was ridiculous. Do you want to go over OC options? You want to play the game? The chat's asking about some guys. Do you have some? Oh, that is not what I meant. There we go. It's from Bolt Stubbs fans. So Mike McDaniel is a name. Do you like Mike McDaniel as a possible offensive coordinator?
Yes, for a couple of reasons. I know a lot of people think about McDaniel and, all the speed associated type of players that he likes to go after. And Chargers don't really have that element, not to that degree for what was being built in Miami. But what he is very good at is getting the run game established. And I think he's actually better at it than Greg Roman is, to be completely honest with you. So if Greg's claim to fame is, his stout running game, well, there's a guy who he walked into Miami looking one way, and now he looks like what's the game? Grand Theft Auto. He looks like a coke kingpin off of Grand Theft Auto now. I don't know. I mean, I guess moving to Miami will do that to you. But I'd be perfectly fine with it because that's someone who I've seen be innovative in his passing game. He was doing a whole lot of those, or he was the one who really got the whole orbit motion thing kicked off with his really fast guys. And nobody's Tyreek Hill, but you could still utilize that type of game planning, implement it, and use your faster receivers and even just like the decently fast guys to, if you're not even going to get them the ball, at least use them as a decoy to take the attention off of other players who you are actually looking to target on specific plays. So I'd be 1,000% cool with McDaniel.
Yeah, I think he's probably number 1. I was a big fan of Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator with Buffalo. I don't know about head coach, but obviously a veteran play caller who has success. And was pretty innovative as an offensive coordinator with the Bills.
Well, he was the reason for Josh Allen's breakout.
Yeah, absolutely. Love his attitude. I know it didn't work out in New York, but as a head coach, but McDaniel didn't work out as a head coach either. How do you feel about the chat? Really likes Cliff Kingsbury. Are you a fan of his at all?
Cliff's another guy that's a pretty good play caller. As far as his running game is concerned, I think he's more of a spread offense guy. I'm not sure how much that jives with what Harbaugh wants to do offensively. So Cliff Kingsbury, the play caller, I'm cool with. I just don't know. It might be like water and oil situation between he and Harbaugh. I'm not sure how that matches up. Harbaugh would have to change his philosophy a bit, which it might be time for, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like whenever he gets a new offensive coordinator, which is going to be this offseason, which we'll just talk that into existence. It just felt like, he's going to have to change how things are. He can't get another old head in there and do the same thing that Roman did. They're going to have to get more creative.
Well, the thing that I was thinking though is if you're talking about changing the scheme, if it's more of a spread situation, then you're going to have to change the type of personnel that you have up front, like in your offensive line. Harbaugh loves these big, humongous, hulking offensive linemen. Well, if you're going to run more spread concepts, you need some guys that can move around, and that probably means running more zone as opposed to power game. So you need some more agile players, some more Rashawn Slater type players. I mean, Joe Alt's a freak. He can still do it, but they don't make guys like that at 6'8", 315, 320 pounds that can move like that up and down an offensive line. So there have to be some adjustments made.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's quite honestly quite a bit of offensive coordinator names that are pretty tempting to me, at least. And I think if you're starting to mull over a new OC, I think you need to get on that pretty quickly, because teams are going to start filling out their head coaching search and all that other stuff. And you probably want to snatch up one of these OCs before they go to another possible team. So hopefully soon.
Soon. You can't sit on your hands with this one. I mean, there's a lot of motion happening out here in the NFL right now. I see somebody actually just said it in the chat. You got Stefanski out there as well. So if you're going to do it, I guess we don't know what the plan is for some of these coaches. If they planned on just kind of hanging out and waiting to see what shook loose from these teams once their seasons were over, or if they're looking to get on as soon as humanly possible. But yeah, right now you have some options. I start courting guys right away, like on the plane back. Probably have Greg take a separate one. And just start looking at what your future options are, because Jim's gonna have to level with himself. I get the relationship, I get the success you've had with Greg in the past, but your brand of football can work, but it has to be complemented by other things. It can't just be that thing, because there are other very good NFL head coaches and coordinators that have been in the league a very long time that understand how to mitigate some of what your strengths are. And you have to be able to counterpunch. And you can't have an offensive coordinator, like I said, with one pitch.
Yeah. I'm curious. They're going to have to do something, and I think they got to move pretty fast on this. And if you're even, I don't even know if you need to really think about this, because it's pretty cut and dry about how bad Roman was. But to just pile on here, because I feel like we need to a little bit, just about how bad Greg Roman was today and this year, and how he's been with the Chargers. The game management at the end of that game.
Oh my God.
Where they're subbing in and out and wasting time to sub wide receivers in and out while they're trying to mount a comeback is about as Bush League high school football type game management. I just don't understand how nobody sees that coming, and why everybody's still switching out, and why they're not rolling with the same guys they have on the field. It's the whole point of going hurry up. It's not hurry up if you're subbing, because then you're letting them get fresh legs on the field just so you can get Keenan off the field. I mean, Keenan looked gassed, by the way, on that drive. But yeah, Herbert's got to take control and just keep running, hurry up. But that's what Roman does. And so that was part of the issue. It was embarrassing, that sequence at the end of the game.
Be honest though, have they ever showed that they're decent at 2 minute, like consistently? Have we watched them run 2 minute offense consistently and go in a hurry up and have viable plays and just kind of locked in the chamber in the event that has to happen? Because I can't remember too many instances where that took place. I will say that from an operational standpoint, you were 1000% correct. That can't happen. That's something that you drill every week. So to find yourself in a situation, forget it. Not just finding yourself in that situation, finding yourself in that situation in a playoff game and still failing like that shows a complete lack of preparation. And operationally, yes, Justin just got to take over at that point. Um, if anyone were to ask what I want to see from Justin Herbert this offseason going into next, forget the nice guy act. I'm over it. Like, his personality is who he is. He doesn't like being in front of the cameras. He's not going to call guys out. That I totally get. I don't think you should do that either. Behind the scenes, getting these guys' tails, like, for real, pause that if you need to, but do what you have to do to make sure that everybody's in line and doing what they have to do to be successful and win. But that starts with you. And again, he has to feel at this point, if you're not given the ability to do that, and I don't think that he's not, I think Jim will allow him to do it. He's just got to step up and be that guy. And I don't necessarily think that's like a personality flaw as much as it is that, hey, you play a position where you have to lead and people will follow. They're looking to you to be the guy. I think he has that in him because we've seen it in spurts. Like, we've seen him get pissed off and, get after guys for not doing their job. We've seen that happen on the field. I need you to do that behind the scenes on the practice field. Make these guys respect and understand that if whoever's up in the booth on the sidelines doesn't have it together, that you do. But it really all kind of boils down to you when we're talking about on the field play. You cannot be in a situation where you're trailing like that in any game, let alone a playoff game, and that be the result. It looked like they didn't know that they were behind in a playoff game and it's a win or go home situation. That's inexcusable.
All right, so this keeps coming up in the chat. Patriots linebacker, this is from Mr. Hey 0701. Robert Spillane said Chargers player told him after the game that they had no clue what coverage New England was running. I have not seen this. I'm going to look this up. Oh, wow. Wasn't hard to find. Let's see if we can, hold on. Let's see if I can get some sound on this. Can you hear that?
I didn't hear anything yet.
You hear anything? Okay. All right. I'll find it. But anyway, yeah, man, this is, oh, here we go. Okay. If this is true. Okay. I haven't heard this. So
Zach has been.
Could you hear that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Zach has been great all year. He keeps the dial spinning. He keeps offenses guessing all year. He's been doing that. Just after the game, talking to a few of the guys on their team, they had no clue what we were doing. And they came up and said that. We have no clue what you guys were in all game. So for him just to be able to build those packages throughout the week, our back end players to know how to disguise the different defenses, really keeps quarterbacks guessing. Zach has been.
Ooh, okay. All right. So, okay. I don't know what to say to that. The Chargers players didn't know what they were doing. I mean, they didn't know what they were in. What do you mean? I don't know how at the NFL level you don't know what they're in. I don't know if that's more indicative of the Chargers players or the fact that they couldn't find a counter to it. I don't know, man. That's embarrassing, to be honest with you. If that's true, I mean, obviously that's the linebacker talking, so I'm just taking his word for it. But man, that says,
Garrett,
yeah. What?
Every week you go into a game with a game plan, and that game plan is based off of film that's watched every week for weeks. You develop a game plan to offset tendencies. You look at some potential tendency breakers that they've shown throughout the year, all of these things. And then you cultivate that game plan to fit your team and your personnel for that specific week, every single week. It's not a copy and paste. For this to be a problem says all you need to know about the person devising the game plan, because it trickles down. The coaching staff all works together. They're giving the assignments of what you need the players to do, the individual coaches to get them prepared. These guys all go into meetings. They're all shown film. So they didn't see something that the Patriots were doing that they haven't seen all season. Like that only happens a couple times out of the games. Teams normally go with what works or what got them there. That tells you all you need to know about the problem with this team. And if Spillane's talking about the offense, then who again is the problem?
Well, yeah, I mean it's clearly Greg Roman. I mean, it doesn't really feel good on Harbaugh either, to be honest with you, as the general of this operation. But yeah, he hired Greg Roman to run this offense, and if the offense couldn't figure out the defense in 4 quarters, on top of all the film they watched heading into the most important game of their 2025 season, and was so flummoxed that it became such a talking point that they came up to Patriots players and telling them that they had no idea what was going on. It's all on Greg Roman. It doesn't look good on Harbaugh, and the players obviously aren't adjusting well enough. Herbert isn't helping out either. So it's bad on everybody. I don't know that, I don't even know who to really blame, but everybody for that. That's crazy.
Well, no, you're right. It's an everybody problem. And it starts with Jim Harbaugh, and it has to be changed. Like, I get it. This is your boy. There's going to have to be a separation between the business aspect of it and your friendship. You guys can still be buddies and not work together. It's totally possible. If you move forward, seeing what you've seen now for 2 straight years, if you want to give him an excuse, that's something that you're choosing to do, and you're being willfully obtuse about the situation. Let's just be honest. You can come up with excuses for the last 2 years why things didn't work. Last year, it was not enough weapons. This year, it was the attrition on the offensive line. Totally get it. But every year, there's going to be some sort of adversity that you have to overcome. But that's where good coaching comes into play. Jim Harbaugh clearly has changed the culture from a toughness standpoint. We definitely see guys, well, depends on which side of the ball you're talking about, completely honest with you, because what's supposed to be the calling card are the trenches. The defensive line, I think, has probably played above their heads based on the level of talent that they have on the defensive line. Like, they don't have any superstar defensive line players. I mean, on the interior. We're not talking about like guys on the edge or anything like that. They have above average edge players. But the majority of the guys on the defensive line are average tier. Tart is a little above average playmaker, somebody who's salty, can muck up a game for sure. But Jamari Caldwell, rookie, he had some good moments. Deshaun Hand, another guy with some good moments here and there. But from a culture standpoint, Harbaugh's changed that. But what you can't continue to do are have decent to average players playing above their heads every single year. But you couple that with the Greg Roman effect on the opposite side of the ball with that offensive line. Well, that was going to be questionable no matter what. If you had both of your tackles, you were still going to have a questionable interior offensive line. Mekhi Becton, we've probably seen the last of him too. Good riddance. But ultimately, yes, this starts with Jim Harbaugh, but the trickle-down effect is that if he doesn't put the team above his personal relationships, then this team will not be able to advance. And it starts with cutting off the problem. I'm actually happy to hear what he said about, well, indirectly, about Greg Roman and the potential for there to maybe be some questions that have to be asked there, because I don't feel like that's something he would have said prior to. Jim knows, but Jim knows it's also his head that's ultimately on the chopping block here. You brought all these guys in. We said, because we were jumping up and down screaming for Jim Harbaugh for years. And when it happened, the question was, well, who's going to be his offensive coordinator? And we were all praying that it wasn't Greg Roman because we saw this coming. And now here it is. So the question is Jim so stuck in his ways that he thinks that, oh man, we just got to get a decent year with everybody healthy and you'll see it'll work? Or has he realized that he's got less years ahead of him as a head coach than he does behind him, and makes the changes that are necessary in order to take this team where I'm sure he promised the Spanos family he would. That's going to start with clipping your buddy. End of story.
Yeah. I'm having trouble now even trying to figure out exactly where we go from here. Just as a show, I'm just talking about like towards the end of the show, because there is no, like we've mentioned multiple times, there just is not a way that Greg Roman can be OC next year. A lot of people are out on Harbaugh, and I'm not there. I have no excuses for him today. Him and his staff were out coached today. They were out prepped today, out prepared. I mean, everything. And defensively, I thought they did really, really good. And I can't say enough nice things about Jesse Minter, who put together a hell of a game plan today. I mean, he spooked everything that they needed to do to spook Drake May today. They did, and they were really able to get 2 turnovers. They got the offense got 0 points off of both of those turnovers, which is again a Herbert and Greg Roman problem. So I am not out on Harbaugh. Like I am so out on Roman. Like we've been out for almost a year and a half
before
now.
he got the job.
Yeah, we were so enamored with the Jesse Minter hire that it just kind of like Roman flew under the radar almost. But we've been out on Roman before he got here. And so he can kick rocks. He's gone. He's done. He's dead to all of us. But as a coordinator, Harbaugh deserves obviously all the bad things that everybody's going to say about the Chargers being unprepared and all that other stuff today, because they just were not prepared. Herbert just again fell flat in a big moment in the playoffs, 0-3, and we're talking about like he's at like a 50% completion percentage at this point. He's had like 4 interceptions, only 2 touchdowns. There's a stat today that Jawan Jennings and Justin Herbert have the same amount of playoff touchdowns, which is absolutely terrible. Did you see Jawan Jennings have a touchdown today? He threw one on that trick play.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, wait, hold on. How many touchdowns did Herbert throw for in the Jaguars game?
He's only got 2 throughout his career. I think there was,
all right,
his playoff career at least.
I feel like I might have made a mental block about that game in general. So
yeah, I don't blame you. But now he's 0-3, but it's not like it's hey, fire Herbert or like trade Herbert or any of that type of stuff. So we're not there. I'm not there on Harbaugh. He deserves the bashing he got today. So does Herbert. But both of those guys, I mean, I'm ride or die with Harbaugh until the wheels come off. So I'm that aspect of like, hey, let's fire him, even promote Minter or whatever, like that's not in the conversation for me today. But Greg Roman is gone, and this offensive line has got to get an absolute facelift.
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as Harbaugh is concerned, I mean, I don't know what folks want to do here. He has a proven product. We know that he can win. I mean, he took this team from the depths and turned it into an 11-win team last year. Yeah, we expected to do a little bit more this year. This wasn't the year that I thought they were really going to compete. I thought it was going to be like one more year, so it's technically still on track. I just didn't see it ending this way. But again, if we're being honest, how successful did we think this team was going to be when they lost both Alt and Slater? So that being said, yeah, the season isn't a loss because you still got another 11 wins. You got into the playoffs. What makes it suck is the journey there and the way that it ends. Starting the year off winning 3 straight divisional games was not something I think any of us thought was going to happen. It was set up for the Chargers to have a very difficult time. And where they stubbed their toe were in games where you didn't expect it to happen, which is kind of sort of a Chargers thing, to be completely and totally honest with you, because this team very well should have won 13 games. To be completely honest with you, they should have won 13. And so you take that, all of it, and understand that, yes, they could have faltered. It could have been a complete tank job of a season, but Harbaugh did not allow that to happen. That's the positive side. So we know that the Harbaugh effect, there's something to that. Where we're talking about all of the things within the margins. I mean, coaching matters, player development matters, especially when you have a team that, like, if we're being completely honest, the Chargers aren't the most talented overall roster in the NFL. They have a couple of, I mean, when you talk about superstar players, how many superstar players on the Chargers roster, if we're being honest? Like Derwin James, I mean, Herbert, we call Herbert a star, can't put him in the superstar realm yet. That's probably it. So, and I'm not saying that the team needs to be filled with superstars. What I am saying is that if you're going to have a roster that's full of average to above average players, then you got to have dominant coaching across the board. You can't have average to above average players in a lot of key roles that are playing over their heads, but then also have like average to below average coordinators. So Jesse Minter did and is doing everything that we need for him to do with the product that he puts out there on the field for the most part, for the majority of these games for the last 2 years on the defensive side of the ball. Greg Roman is not doing that. So it's time to reshuffle the deck. Harbaugh is going to have to go back and take a long look in the mirror. If this was the last game that we see coached by Jesse Minter, that's going to suck. Part of me is hoping that he wants to see this thing through with Harbaugh, but when you look at the sheer amount of coaching jobs that are available right now, it'd be hard to think that he won't maybe want to take advantage of one of these, especially the one in Baltimore, particularly the one in Baltimore, where he got to start. So I don't know, man. Like you said, I don't really know where to go from here either, because I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of bright spots. Like, yes, Odafe Owe, victory lap, sweet. Happy that he did everything that I thought he could do. A godsend for this team, because that combination makes me realize freaking Khalil Mack, man. Another year for Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
I don't even know what this means now.
You got to resign him is what it means.
Yeah. Well, will he want to play another year? And if he wants to play another year, will he want to do it here? Like, at this point, you're re-signing and you want to have an opportunity to win a championship. Now you've gone through this twice. And if your defensive coordinator is leaving, do you want to chance it again? Like, do you want to go through this potentially again next year? And I feel like Khalil's a very loyal guy, but if his thing is wanting to see it through, great. But I wouldn't blame him if he wants to go to a place that gives him the best opportunity to win a Super Bowl next year. That may not be with the Chargers. It depends. My thing is like, before I make any of these decisions, who's coming back? That's going to be my question. Who are the offensive coordinators? Who's the offensive coordinator going to be?
Well, yeah, of course.
Is Jesse Minter leaving or not? Like, I'm sure all those things are going to weigh very heavily on him. But I tell you one thing, Minter coming back probably helps that cause. If Roman comes back, I don't know what the hell anybody does, because I don't know who would want to play in that offense. I don't know who would want to sign to come and play in that offense. I don't get it. I don't know. But collectively, again, this is going to be a Harbaugh come to Jesus moment where he has to make some shouldn't be very hard decisions, in my opinion. But like I said before, if you tell me we're watching Jesse Minter walk away and Greg Roman comes back, we're going to have some problems going into next year.
You mean like personal problems with his organization?
I'm talking about me. Like, I don't care about anybody else. Like, I'm one man, but look, I don't expect that anything that I say will make a difference. I'm just saying I don't know how I'm going to look at this situation if that actually occurs.
On paper, if you take away Greg Roman, it does feel like with the pieces that they have heading into free agency, this is still a fringe playoff team on paper. So it does feel like it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, they went and won 11 games on a makeshift offensive line, losing their all-pro tackles, which should be returning. So, like, it feels like there is some hope, but then we run into the same, question leading up to the end of every season. Is this the year that Herbert finally breaks through, or is he just going to fall apart again in the playoffs? And we'll have to worry about that at the end of the year. But going into the offseason, it has got to be no Greg Roman. And I know I keep saying that, but it just, yeah, I feel like a lot of teams would be hesitant to come back and see. I mean, hell, even with all the, I don't want to say we were bashing Herbert, but all the like hard times we were given to Herbert so far, I will say he was unbelievably tough today. I mean, he got knocked around a lot today. He got hit in the head a couple times and didn't get a call at all. I mean, he got spun around. I thought he got knocked out twice today in that game. Never came off the field. He kept playing. Toughness is a thing that matters. It doesn't win you football games, but it does matter. And with the broken hand and everything he's played through, they made it to the playoffs. But yeah, he's definitely a competitor. He just kind of, I don't know, he just fell apart when the game mattered. But I do want to say he was pretty tough today.
No, for sure. And his toughness is never in question. The problem is, again, just never beating the allegations in these playoff games when you have performances like these, because it's going to be squarely put on your shoulders. Regardless as to anything else that happens, you knew the spotlight was on him tonight more so than anyone else. So if he didn't play a good to great game, it was going to be a problem. If he played well and they still didn't win, then he would still get a whole bunch of crap because he didn't win a playoff game, because we know how that works. QBs, wins being QB stats and how people pick and choose when that actually matters and when it's a thing and how that goalpost gets moved. But the fact of the matter is that he didn't give us anything to even defend tonight. So no, it's not really bashing him. We're just calling it for what it is. He had a very, very poor performance. Last year was a completely different story. He didn't play a great game, but you could also see that he was being teed off on for like 80% of the game. And that was with both of his tackles in. Everybody just had a trash game and no one else produced offensively. Literally, it was Ladd McConkey and nobody else. Yeah. So like you could lean on a couple of those picks weren't his fault, but a couple were some bad throws. I mean, the late one was at the end of the game. Like he just throws the ball up. And of course, now it's 4 interceptions. Like, again, context. You can talk about the Jaguars game, but he doesn't play defense. So like you can pick and choose, or you can dissect things from those two games if you want to try to give him some defense, but you cannot defend what happened tonight. No, nobody played well, but the one person who could not just be like, okay, I had a bad game, it sucks, but it happens, was you, because it was another playoff game. You're now 0-3, and everyone will continue to point at this and say you just can't get it done. It won't matter what happened around you. When you go 19 for 31 for 159 yards and no TDs, that's all people are going to care about. That's it. So long story less long, yeah, we go to bat for Herbert because we see everything that he goes through. But when you have performances like these, like, what are we supposed to do? Like, there's some of these people that say the most ridiculous things about Herbert that make absolutely no sense because they have these agendas. But in some of the criticisms, they're right. In the things that make sense that you critique about him not stepping up in big moments, he didn't do anything to dispel that tonight. So here's to another offseason of Herbert ridicule and having to go through a whole nother regular season of him probably playing very well. But then the question is going to be, well, what happens when you get into the playoffs? Nobody's going to care about anything you do before then.
Yeah. And so Chargers headed into the offseason with a lot of questions now after this ugly loss in Foxborough. We are now heading into the offseason now for a long break. Craig, is there anything else you want to add before we start to head out here and take our little break until we start a new one, which I guess will be off-season pods and all that other stuff? But anything you want to leave everybody with before we get out of here?
Yeah, folks, it feels weird that this is the last one of these for the year, because I guess it still hasn't hit me quite yet. But I want to thank everybody for taking this ride, man, this year. Every year we go through a bunch of ups and downs with things, and this team's been exciting to watch, if nothing else. And we just really want to say, well, I'll speak for myself. I'm sure Garrett agrees that we appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting every week through the wins, the losses, the inexplicable performances like tonight. and just continuing to support the show. I mean, we had some changes this year. Jamie had to step away to do some stuff with family. I mean, collectively, we're all super busy. We all have kids that are growing up and involved in multiple different things, and we have jobs and significant others. So we're bouncing around all the time. So just thank you for rocking with us, and being open to us having to be flexible from time to time, sometimes having to maneuver things. Life is very fluid. And yeah, we'll see y'all in the off season. We can start firing up all the draft talk. I'm not ready for that yet. I really thought we were going to have at least another week. But again, you guys make it all worth it. Like coming in here, and this is a therapy session, I think, for the both of us also, because we get to vent like we are here, and you guys listen and give your feedback, even if you don't agree with us. That's perfectly fine. We're not here to have everyone, bang the same drum. Ultimately, all of us want the same thing. We want this team to succeed. So if we're all pushing towards the same thing, you all are always welcome to continue being here and supporting and adding your feedback and being a part of all of this, because you are what makes this go.
Yeah, it's been a taxing season for us just because of everything that's been going on in our personal lives. Not having Jamie on I don't want to make it sound like Jamie's dead, but like not having him on the podcast, and everybody continuing to join us every week. I know it's not as much content as we were releasing at one point, where we had we were having, multiple podcasts throughout the days, and it felt like we were doing like 4 or 5 a week. And, we do it once a week, and sometimes we don't do it because either the games aren't worth talking about or we got busy or something. But you guys always came in when we did have podcasts, and we really enjoy it. We appreciate everybody leaving comments and all that other stuff. It feels like every week everybody talks about, how much they love the podcast and how they feel like it's like the best Chargers content and all that. And that, whether that's true or not, doesn't really matter. But we appreciate all the kind words you guys give us, because it has, from a personal standpoint, been kind of tough on all of us. And it is nice to hear that stuff. And it's also nice to, have conversations with all you guys. If you guys aren't a part, I would recommend joining the Discord. Our Discord is just so much fun to be a part of. I know, like, there's some bickering like every fan network that you put together, but it's a lot of fun to joke around and have fun and talk about stuff that's not just always about Chargers, but being able to talk about it in a collective space with a bunch of other Chargers fans is really fun. So I would join the Discord if you can. We've got a link on it on the Lightning Round Twitter page. Join us over there. If not there, you know where to find us on Twitter. Feel free to message us. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we all can. And outside of that, again, thank you for a great season. I know, again, it didn't end like anybody of us wanted it to, but I do appreciate you guys continuing to tune in every single week. And I know it's tough to get a hold of us sometimes because we are so busy, but we appreciate you guys giving us, a little bit of leeway in that respect and being understanding. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.
Salute.